Okay, so here you are charged with a felony for the first time. You're trying to figure out how to navigate the system, what the options are, and you're trying to position yourself in the best possible way to get a favorable outcome in your case. And so this is part two of what happens if you're charged with a felony for the first time. In part one, we went over the first 5 things that you need to know if you're ever charged with a felony for the first time. And now in this video, I'm going to go over items 6 through 10 on that list of the things that you need to be aware of and what you should do if you're ever charged with a felony. So let's start with item number 6. The sixth thing that you need to know is that if you are out of jail while your case is pending, it is so important that you use that time wisely. The reason is that what you do while you are out of jail pending a felony charge can likely affect the outcome of your case. For example, so usually it shouldn't stop what you do in life or pursue in life. So for example, if you were in school, don't just quit school assuming that they don't kick you out of school. Stay in school and continue your classes, because that can be used by your attorney to negotiate for a favorable outcome with a prosecutor. So for instance, lots of judges don't like to take people out of school and put them in jail. So if you are a person that's pursuing school or education, some class, coursework, a trade, or otherwise, stay in that program, stay in school, because you may be able to get a certificate or a letter of enrollment or something showing that you are an active, productive member of society, and that this kind of case can impact your potential future career. So if you're still pursuing things in life, continue to do those things, because that can be used to potentially negotiate for a favorable outcome in your case. Similarly, if you have a job or if you're doing other things in the community, stay in those things or pursue those things. If you don't have a job, find a job. If maybe mental health was an issue in your case, go see a mental health care provider. If drugs and alcohol was an issue, go and get drug and alcohol treatment. But whatever it is that you do, make sure that you are addressing the issues that led you to the charges in the first place, so that you can just better yourself as a person, so that your attorney can use that to potentially negotiate a favorable outcome in your case. So the sixth thing is use your time wisely, pursue your goals, pursue education, make sure that you stay employed and that you're doing positive things in the community. The seventh thing that you need to be aware of is that if you are charged with a felony, you need to be aware of every possible mandatory minimum jail sentence that you could be facing, and then also what the maximum penalties that you could be facing are as well. Understand that just because there is a maximum penalty doesn't mean that you'll get it, but you also need to be aware of what you are realistically looking at. If it is very possible that you can be found guilty of a charge that carries mandatory jail time, then you'll want to really consider your options. Is it worth going to trial, or is this something that you want to encourage your attorney to negotiate for an outcome on your behalf or a plea on your behalf? You want to be able to live the rest of your life in peace, but you won't be able to do that if you are spending years in jail. So understand that the stakes are a lot higher with felony charges, and be aware of the time that you could be facing, especially if there is mandatory time that exists for a charge. Understand that mandatory time means that the judge has no discretion to give you a sentence lower than that. So in my previous video, I talked about a charge in DC called possession of a firearm during a crime of violence, and that charge carries a 5-year mandatory minimum, although the maximum for that additional charge is more. So understand what you're facing for the charges that you have. Now, number 8. If you're deciding that you want to go to trial, be aware of the arguments and the motions that your attorney can make on your behalf. So for example, if you have certain defenses that are available to you, you need to be aware of that. If there are certain pretrial motions that your attorney can file on your behalf, you also need to be aware of that as well. And honestly, your likelihood of success as well. So for example, a very common motion that is filed in criminal cases is a motion to suppress evidence. That means that perhaps a police officer violated your constitutional rights and obtained evidence because they violated your constitutional rights. So in those situations, your attorney may file a motion to suppress the resulting evidence of that illegally obtained evidence. So understand those motions, the arguments, the defenses that you can make in your case to really assess what your true likelihood of success is if you decide that you want to go to trial. Number 9, if you are released while your felony case is pending, the most important thing that you need to be aware of is that you cannot pick up any violations and that you cannot get arrested on new charges. I know it's very silly that I have to say this, but believe it or not, there are a lot of people that may go out and do the very same thing that caused them to get arrested. So for example, let's say you're charged with felony credit card theft, right? It probably isn't a good idea to go out and commit more credit card theft, right? You're charged with a gun charge. It probably isn't a good idea to go pick up another gun charge or just any new charge in general. It's usually a violation of your pretrial release conditions. And then it also shows that you're a person that commits multiple crimes and you have no regard for any pretrial release conditions or any orders of the judge. So understanding that if you violate your pretrial release conditions or you pick up new charges, for one, it will be an opportunity for the judge to now put you in jail. And so a prosecutor, if they see that you picked up a new offense, they may revoke a prior plea offer, or they may ask for you to be held in jail because you're committing too many crimes all at once. So be aware of that. Abiding by pretrial release conditions and not picking up new charges is very important, especially when you have a felony charge. And then number 10, if you take a plea deal to a felony charge, or if you're convicted at trial of a felony, typically what happens is that your case is continued for sentencing because judges usually have to order what is called a pre-sentence investigation or a pre-sentence report, which allows the judge to see mitigating factors about you and your family history. So these pre-sentence reports typically go into your entire childhood, your social history, your mental health history, including any prior record that you may have as well. They go really in depth into your life from your childhood to the present date. So understand that if you plead guilty to a felony or you're found guilty of a felony, the case will get continued for several weeks, often either 60, 90 days, under 20 days, for these pre-sentence reports to be developed. And the point is for the judge to have mitigating factors about you and your background to be able to officially decide your sentence. So that's something that's really important that you need to be aware of. Now, ultimately, if you have a felony, always make sure that your attorney discusses all of these things with you so you know exactly what to expect and you know what your options are. So I hope that information is helpful to you. Feel free to comment your questions down below and I'm always happy to answer them. You can also message me on my website, mydclaw.com, and I'm happy to chat with you further. Stay safe, take care, see you soon.